Hello, doing a off-the-cuff talk today. Hopefully be a short one, but you know how things go with me. So, do we really have free will? And more to the point, do we use our free will? Right? We all sense, we spoke about the idea of free will conceptually, but I want to bring it down to the practical level, and then trace it back to the roots to show my thinking behind the ideas. When we choose to do something, what does it mean to choose? Right? You go to a shop, you've got vanilla ice cream, chocolate ice cream. Which one do you choose? Is that choosing? Is that really choosing? Or are you pre-programmed to do that? Do you naturally like the vanilla more than the chocolate? So you probably will choose that. Or is there an element of actual pure free will going on there? Right? Person wakes up in the morning. Let's think about how many times you actually make a choice to do anything. You wake up in the morning, okay, you could choose, am I going to get up or sleep in? Fine, okay. Is that a conscious choice? Are you using that part of your mind which is realizing the battle and make a proactive choice, or are you just reacting? Person gets up, have breakfast. Did you choose to have breakfast today? Well, yeah, I must have because I did it. But did you choose, or was it your habits going on? See, really what happens with our choices, there's two elements to it. You've got the conscious and you've got the subconscious. Loosely referred to the nefesh and the ruach. The nefesh is the lowest of the five souls. The ruach is the second one up. Yeah, you can express this idea in a few different ways, but we'll stick with that. Imagine you've got the Vilna Gaon, the Elijah of Vilna, 1700s, in his book Evan Shalema. He speaks about the idea of free will, not so much free will, but the idea of the dynamic between our consciousness and our subconscious. He likens it to a person riding a wild horse. Okay, so a person's on a wild horse. The problem is the person wants to use the horse in order to get from point A to point B, right? Or to manipulate the horse to do anything, or to do some show jumping or whatever, or ride into battle, on his horse with his lance there, whatever. But you can't do it unless you're in control of the horse. If the horse does what it wants to do, then the person's consciousness, or let's stick with a metaphor here. The rider of the horse is not able to express himself through the horse or do what he wants through the horse. On the contrary, the horse is making the person do what the horse wants to do. The horse wants to go that way. The rider is helpless to stop the horse going the other way. That's what it's like with our soul and our body. Our soul, but or our consciousness and our subconscious. Threw in something extra there. Yeah, it is connected with the soul and the body. But these are two levels within the mind. So you've got the more physical aspect of the mind, which is the subconscious, and you've got the consciousness, which is the more awake, more vivid, more alive part of the mind. Right? So we need both parts to function. The animal part is necessary for all any living creature. You need to eat, you need to reproduce, you need to sleep. You need to make basic choices in order to function. But there's something special about the human where our choices are sought out. They are weighing up two options. Abstract thought, where we choose to do something because it's the right thing to do, not because it's the necessary thing to do. And it's a survival need, a reaction to something which is built into us. So the Vilna Gaon speaks about the man riding on the horse. So what do you do in that situation? When the horse is out of control, what you do is you've got to hit it, you've got to control it, you've got to assert your influence on the horse. So the horse learns, I'm not the boss, this guy on my back, who's hitting me when I don't do the right thing, he's in charge. Then the body, I keep mixing the metaphor up with the thing which we're going to apply it to. So the horse starts to understand that he's not the one in charge. He's the one who is just there as a vessel for the rider to express himself. And the horse is just the tool through which the rider can do what he wants. And remember, the rider can't travel as fast as the horse. So the rider actually needs the horse as well. Hope you're working on 2 or 3 different parallel levels when I'm speaking here. Right? I'll speak it out anyway. So that's the idea. So this corresponds to, as we said, the soul and the body, or the mind and the subconscious. If we're going into the mind, the 2 mind aspects of our being, right? Because obviously the body itself doesn't really choose; it's just a piece of meat. But there is an element of our soul which is connected with the body and habits, as the same thing we have in common with lower creatures, the animals and the plants. Don't get confused with the idea of the animals having a ruach as well. We're going on a different paradigm here. We're simplifying the whole thing into 2 elements: the nefesh, meaning the resting soul, the one which is the subconscious, the one which is to do with habits, and you've got the ruach, which is the one which has got direction. Ruach means direction, wind, life. Yeah, Hashem blew into man ruach mamalla, nefesh chaya. The Targum says ruach mamalla, a speaking spirit. That's what we're talking about here. This ruach. Right? It does. If you want to expand, you want to magnify, you can see there's actually 3 there, and beyond there's 5. In fact, there's 25 because there's 5 within each of the 5. We're not going to those details here. We're keeping it simple. We've got the subconscious, we've got the conscious. So, taking the metaphor of the rider of the horse, what's really going on when we're doing everything? What we're really doing is we're just reacting to the horse. We're just a passenger. People don't think, especially in the age of digital technology, with the smartphones, iPhones, and social media and everything. Everything's bombarding a person's mind. They're not able to think anymore. What they do is they react. I heard a story about I'm not sure if it's true, but I wouldn't be surprised. There's a girl who went into a doctor, and she was complaining of pains in her head. So the doctor started to ask questions to pin down exactly what type of pains she was feeling. So it's like I have these ideas coming into my head, like these pictures, and I'm not sure how she described it, but the doctor said, "1 minute, that's called thinking." And she said, "Oh, really? What? Oh, it hurts when I think." So no, that's totally normal. Everyone thinks. It's just this girl probably never thought before. She was living her life, and little children are like that as well, to be honest. So maybe she was just going through that stage of growing into an adult where she was feeling some self-awareness or something like that. But usually we react to things. We don't weigh things up. We don't think about our lives. We just go with the flow. Yeah, if everyone's saying this, yes, I say this. This is the thing we say, right? Right? This is my opinion, and I have conviction. Why? Because I see you men have conviction. Okay, so now it gets filtered through my personality. So my personality, when I express my conviction, I do it in this way, as opposed to that person who does it in a different way. So I'm an individual, am I? Are you really an individual? Or are you just a different rider on the horse, but the horse is just the one leading the way? Really what's happening is the differences between people become superficial and just down to their habits. It's a different horse, essentially. Yeah, not just a different rider, right? essentially, it could be many different riders on different horses, but you don't see the expression of the riders on any of the horses. You've got 10 different horses, 10 different riders, but the one who wins the race is the horse. It doesn't matter how good or bad the rider is, because the riders are not taking part. They're just following whatever the horse does. And that's what's going on with most people in society now. We don't really choose at all. When you choose to eat breakfast, you don't. You're not making that choice. The body, the subconscious, is doing it, and you go along with it. So it's sort of a laziness of thinking. It's not applying your mind to actually think. Another idea comes to mind is when people are having debates. I see sometimes have debates between Jews and non-Jews, Jews and non-religious Jews, non-Jews and non-Jews, different ideas about different philosophical ideas. Sometimes you can detect the difference between the attitudes of different debaters, different people. Some of them are there, I've got my ideas, I'm just going to try winning this, right? And they're just using their brains in order to get round the questions which are presented to them. Other debaters, very rarely, you actually detect they're listening to the other person and thinking and actually challenging themselves and saying, is he right? Maybe I'm wrong. Let's think about that. That's integrity. That's honesty with oneself. You don't really see that in debate, because the whole point of debate is you're meant to win the debate. But at least when a person's having a conversation with someone, or they're having a debate or something like that, you take into account the other person. Who says I'm right? That's an assumption. It's not based on anything, because there's billions of people in the world, and they can't all be right in this area. As long as you've got two different opinions, you don't know who's right. How do I end up being the lucky one who happens to be right? Well, I just happen to be born right, but that's what everyone else is going to say. And there's no objective way of telling who's right. So we need an objective standard. The only way to do this, we spoke about truth and the nature of how to think. Was it truth and bias or something like that? We gave a lecture a while ago as a prologue, prelogue. I don't know what you'd call it. An introductory video to the proofs of Torah and God's existence and the divinity of the Torah. I gave a whole talk there showing what truth is, how you weigh up truth, how you can come to the conclusion something is true, what is evidence, right? There's a name of this subject, it's called epistemology. It's learning the limits of our knowledge and how to know things. Different methods of knowing things have their own limits. The scientific method can't tell you how you feel, right? Right? Psychology can't tell you why the Earth revolves around the sun, right? Different pieces of evidence or different disciplines or different types of logic or arguments are applicable in different fields. Each one's got their strengths and their weaknesses. So when people are talking with each other, you really have to make an active choice. I'm not going to just go with the flow and assume, Judaism's right. Yes, I know this because I've learned so much Torah. I see the truth through the Torah itself. I've had discussions with lots of people. Okay, but if there is theoretically one argument out there which undermines literally everything, right, which is possible, but it's going to have to be a really good argument because there's a huge amount of evidence on the other side. But if there's something which everyone's overlooked and one person comes up with an idea that that really undermines fundamentally all the different preponderance of evidence on the pro-theist side, and if you want to put it like that, the pro-Jewish side, the pro-Torah argument, then if I say he's obviously wrong, and I'm just going to try shutting him down without thinking about it, I'm not being honest. I'm just going with the flow of what I believe is the truth. So even assuming the truth is a bad thing in a way. Obviously, it's good because it's true, but the attitude to assuming, oh, something's true, so I'm just going to mindlessly argue with the person. No, you've got to understand where he's coming from. You've got to be honest. You've got to have integrity, right? Consider what he's saying, right? And then see, okay, if he's saying that, is that, so one thing can't be right. It can't be the Torah is true and this argument's true, which is an argument against the Torah. So which one makes sense? Okay. Usually you'll find a simple way to show there's a flaw in his argument, usually. In a very rare occasion that you don't, it's unlikely that that piece of evidence is going to outweigh the other pieces of evidence, so you're just stuck with a problem, right? But at least admit there's a problem. Be honest. I don't know the answer. That's proactive thought, right? That's going against your grain, against your nature. Because naturally he says, yeah, you're probably wrong. Forget, let's move on. No, that's what your subconscious wants you to do. You've got to let your consciousness work as well. Well, mainly work. So the message we try and give today is think about what we're actually doing. When we do something, just a few times a day, ask, why am I doing this? Am I doing this just because I always do it? I'm used to doing it. It's a habit, an addiction, my nature, social pressure, whatever the reason is, because my body wants me to do it. Or are we doing it because we're making an active choice? Now, last week's Parshas Eikev, that's Deuteronomy chapter 8 to 11, we speak about Vayar Eikev Tishmun. This is the beginning of chapter, I think it's in the middle of chapter 7, actually. 8. Maybe middle of chapter 8. I can't remember. Well, let's have a look. Let's look it up. Here we go. This is Deuteronomy chapter 7, and Parshas Eikev starts a few verses in, about the 12th verse. Yeah, here we go. Right. Vayar Eikev Tishmun Esa Mishpatim Ha'ela, and it shall be because you listen to these laws, and you guard and you do them, then in return for that, V'shamar Hashem L'kecha L'cha, God will guard for you Esa Bris, the covenant, the promise He made, Esa Chesed, and the kindness, Hashem Nishpat L'Avisach, which He promised to your fathers. And will love you, and it will increase you, and it will give you prosperity. And just go through the next few verses as the reward. Now, Rashi says, interesting interpretation on this verse. Why does it say the word Eikev Tishmun? It should say V'haya ki tishma'un, that you will listen, or if you will listen. Im tishma'un, if you will listen. Eikev is a very unusual word, and literally Eikev means a heel, like Yaakov, Jacob, right? We spoke about that, I think, once. Why Eikev is to do with Jacob, right? He's the one who puts the Yud, which means the mind. It's beautiful. It ties in what we're saying today. If you look at the word Eikev here, or here, Ayin Kuf base, going from right to left. The word Jacob has a letter Yud, which is this tiny one here, that one there, right? Not the dot underneath. The letter, these are the dots and the vowels. So you look at the tiny little Yud there, you put it in front of Eikev, you get Yaakov, because the idea of the Yud, meaning the mind, dominating over the Eikev, over the heel. That's what the Jewish people are all about. And that's literally what Rashi is trying to tell us here. Why did it use this word? Because you listen to my laws. Vayar Eikev Tishmun, Ima Mitzvahs Kalav She'adam Dosh Ba'Kevov, if you will listen to the commandments, the light commandments, the ones which people just tread on with their heels, they just do it by habit. In Hebrew, the word for habit is herigel. Herigel is from the word regel, which means feet. It's very interesting that usually we sometimes think we don't think sometimes. Sometimes we just do something with our hands, we're not even thinking. Sometimes we consciously do something. But when I want to get up to go somewhere, my feet literally do it automatically without thinking. And that's important, because if you start thinking about walking, then if you get distracted, you'll fall over. So God made it that when we walk, it should be natural, a habit. And that's important to be a habit. But the problem is, sometimes when we do the commandments as if they're habits. And if we're careful to make sure that those commandments, which a person generally tramples on with his heels, you just do by rote, Tishman, you listen to those ones, then God will reward you, right? Because the real, as we see later on in chapter 9, is it 9 or 10? Next one. Yeah, we've spoken about this at length, this verse. What does God really want from us? Out of everything we're doing in this world, what does He want from us? I'll tell you, Israel, now, Israel, what does God want from you? It's a very, very important chapter. It's 10:12 in Deuteronomy. Also Parshas Eikev, which we read last week. What does He ask from you? Ki only that leyira, to fear as Hashem Lakecha, to fear Him, to go in His ways, to love Him, to serve Him with all your heart and all your mind. That's what we're talking about today, by the way. Serving God with consciousness, with awareness, with all your heart and soul, not by rote. And lishmor mitzvahs Hashem, and to physically do the commandments, which I command for you today, letovlach, to be good for you. Okay. So we get back here. Oops. I think there's one more. Yeah. Yeah. So we see from here, from this Rashi, and then, right, so if you do these things which people trample on with their heels, then God will guard for you the promise. That means He will keep His promise. Okay. Right. So we're seeing a pattern going on here. The importance of being aware and conscious when we're doing things. I think there's a word in secular disciplines called mindfulness. I think it's mindfulness. I think that's what it's called. Where a person, when he does something, when you're walking on the ground, you should be aware of your feet in contact with the ground, aware of your surroundings, the wind brushing against your face. When you do something, be aware, be fully conscious and aware of your mind, how it's controlling your hand, how your hand's reacting, all things like that. So it goes into meditation even. Meditation is being in touch with your inner self, that part which we're trying to activate, which is where our free will really is. That's the one who's doing the choosing. So if we've got a horse which is out of control, right? You've got a person who's living his life without any awareness, self-awareness, without any choices. He just goes by rote. It could be, as we said, even intellectual debaters, even religious Jews. Yeah, it can be like this as well. It's something in human nature just to go by habit, until people who are literally, they don't think about anything in their life. They just purely react. I need money. How do I get money? Oh, that person did this method. Da, da, da. And a person would just like, oh, shoplifting's okay. I will do it. Don't think of consequence. Well, wait a minute. Do you think there's something as right and wrong? They're just going to shoplift, stealing. Then you're forcing them to think. You're basically putting a wall in front of the horse, so the horse has to get round it. Well, it's okay because they've got insurance. Okay, the horse dodged that wall. But there's no rider who's in control of the horse. The horse is just going automatically through the maze of life. And our reward in the world to come, right, is based on our choices. So that's a scary idea. If we every day get up and by automatically just do the mitzvahs, the commandments, without thinking at all, I'm doing this extreme, always have an element of awareness, hopefully, unless you're literally daydreaming through everything. Why would God reward a person who's just doing things by rote? he'll reward him for the original decision he made younger to keep the Torah and to do the mitzvahs. Okay, and therefore every mitzvah he does subsequent to that can be attributed somewhat to free will. That's called a bechira klolis, a general bechira, which is much more powerful. It's a directional bechira, free will. It's a free choice which directs a person's whole life, right? As opposed to, am I going to do this commandment or not? Or am I going to live my life as an Orthodox Jew or as a non-Jew, right? That's a big choice. And all the choices and sort of subconscious choices the person does afterwards can be rewarded based on that original choice. However, that's not the ideal. Each choice we make afterwards, we have to want to make that choice. We have to consciously do it. Like we said, serving God with all your heart and all your soul. Right? It's interesting. The heart and the soul are the ruach and the nefesh, by the way. I just realized that. Because we spoke about before that the five souls, where the ruach is actually situated in the heart, and the nefesh is situated in the body. With all your heart and all your soul. Interesting. Yeah. So it's referring to like what the Vilna Gaon says, the consciousness and the subconscious. Right? Because we've got to serve God with the subconscious as well. Yeah, we don't annihilate it. We're going to speak about that at the end here. So we've got to control the horse. We've got to wake up first of all. And once we're awake, 1 minute, I'm in the middle of a battle. I realize I'm in a battle, right? I'm on a horse. Whoa, I fell asleep there. I'm awake now. Okay, all right, I don't know what to do. Right, this is the next stage now. I don't know what to do. I'm going to let the horse just do everything. Right? That's also not good. No, 1 minute. This horse is crazy. I need to go and attack there. I need to flank the enemy there or whatever. Or I need to get to here for a meeting or whatever. I've got to control this horse. It's not listening. Hit it. Control it. That's what Mussar is. Mussar is the Jewish subject of perfecting one's characteristics and attributes, right? I know that whenever I go to this person's house, I always get jealous of them. Okay, that's an instinct, that's an emotion which I have to get under control. Don't be jealous. God gives everyone what they need for their life. Okay, so intellectually I don't have to get jealous anymore, but I still feel jealous. Okay, so I'm using my free will not to be jealous, but there's still the horse still wants to go there and be jealous. So say no, hammer that idea into your heart. Like we said in chapter 4, verse 39, I think it is. Chapter 4:39, is that right? That's just gone a bit weird, the thing now. 1 minute. Here it is. We've seen this many, many times. The job of the Jew is this. The Ramchal, Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, puts this verse as a central commandment of the whole Torah, basically, our job in this world. You should know today, you should put it into your heart or bring that knowledge into your heart. That means you feel it. That means you put it into your subconscious. Yediyah means your consciousness. To your heart, putting your subconscious. Don't get confused with the different terms we're using here, because we said the heart can also mean the emotions. It can mean the subconscious as well. But it depends what it's juxtaposed with. So here, the knowledge is obviously the mind, and the heart is the emotions or the instincts, which includes the physical one as well, right? The physical and emotional. So you want your emotional awareness to be in line with what you know. And what are you meant to know? You should know this and put into your heart. Ki Hashem hu Elokim, God is the one who is the all-powerful one in heavens above and down on the earth, right? So we see this process, two-stage process: knowledge, that means awareness, learning, being aware, and then internalizing the idea into your subconscious. Okay, right. Okay. So we see this pattern over and over again. The idea of the rider being in charge of the horse. Don't let your feelings, your emotions, your habits control your life. You've got to be the one in control. Now, if you do that, this is where we bring it back to our unique way of looking at things on our channel, right? So I was just saying that's the idea of Mussar, the idea of drumming into your emotions, meditating, using mantras, or thinking, or listening to my lectures and pondering them and thinking the ideas and thinking, okay, that's a nice idea. No, I don't want you to say, that's a nice idea. I don't want you to do that. I want to say, wow, I got no words for that. Let's think about that. Let it settle in my mind until I'm aware of the idea and that, wow, that's an idea. That's how I want people to react, because they've internalized the idea and it's connected with their consciousness, their awareness, and they see the truth of the idea now. That brings them an immense pleasure of knowledge and focus in their life. That's the idea, and awareness of what God's doing here. So we're the riders, and we're meant to be in charge of our horses. Remember, we are meant to be like God. Okay, we spoke about in the very second lecture on this channel, who is God or what is God. We spoke about the first four of the fundamentals of Judaism. One of them was, the fourth one, is God is the Kadmon. He's before the world. That means he's before time. And we said, and as a consequence or a corollary of that, since he's before time, therefore nothing influences God. God's above everything. He's before. He's fundamentally detached from the world and not influenced by it, right? Of course, he has his influence in the world. We spoke about that paradox in that lecture there, right? Because God does have a very intimate connection with us at the same time. But we explain the difference between the essence of God himself and the way that we perceive him. We don't understand how God does that because we don't understand God at all, right? But from our point of view, God is close to us. He created us. He cares about us. But God, on the level which we can't see, right? He is before time, before the rules of nature, before the rules of logic, even maybe. We don't know. We don't understand how that works. But all concepts are created. So therefore, when God creates the world, remember our very first lecture on the channel, right? Why good things happen to why bad things happen to good people, right? Very fundamental to understanding this, anything on this channel. That short 30-odd minute lecture could change your life. Whenever I tell people this, it just blows their mind, this idea, because it's so clear and I prove it completely logically. It's one step after the other, and it really, really hits a person when they see wow, that's so obvious, but I never thought of that. Because it's about 6, 7 different stages. You have to go one after the other. But what did we say there? The world to come, the purpose of creation is getting the pleasure of being close to God, and the only way to do that is by being similar to God. So therefore, just like God is a giver, so God gives us a body, so we can give to the body. We can give the world to come to our body. So therefore, God gives us the world to come, because now we're similar to God. Similarity to God is the pleasure of the world to come. Because similarity to God means closeness to God. We become like God. We feel what it's like to be God as much as possible. And that is the highest pleasure possible, because all pleasures are just watered down versions of that immense reality. So if our job is to be like God, and we said, for example, there, to give like God, but there's something else. When God gives, when he creates the world and wants to give to mankind, he does it in a way where he uses a free will which is not pushed or influenced by any other force. See the idea here? So when we make our choice, we have to be like God as much as possible. If we're not quite like God, the reward or that experience of being God will not be 100%. So it has to be, I've got a nature, I've got different external forces, this pulling me here. I was born Jewish in the Orthodox community, so therefore I'm being pulled to do the right thing, right? Right? Or a non-Jew who's grown up in a moral, ethical household, right? Where they keep the 7 no-chad mitzvahs, don't kill, don't steal, don't murder, uh, sexual morality, and what's the other ones? No idolatry and stuff like that. But if they're just doing because that's how they were brought up like that, then again, there's something missing in their similarity to God. And the whole purpose of this world is for us to be similar to God in order that we can experience being like God in the world to come. Because remember, the reward in the world to come is not a consequence of what we do. It is what we do. When we do the right thing, we are bringing God into the world, into ourselves. That is the pleasure of the world to come. It's just we don't realize it yet because God wants to keep the game going. So He doesn't show us the score, doesn't let us experience how well we're doing. In the meantime, we spoke about this in the idea of the dimensions of time, I think it was. That lecture was also a very early one. So therefore, when God gives to mankind, He's doing an active, pure choice, a pure free will choice. So therefore, when we choose, it has to be 100% pure free will choice, not influenced by anything else. So when we're doing the mitzvahs, the commandments, or we're just going about our daily life, as much as we can, try thinking about what we're doing. Be aware of what we're doing. The Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, wants us to just have dull minds, just go through life without thinking. And even if we do happen to do the right thing along the way, it won't have that much meaning because we're just pre-programmed to do it. So we've got to activate the rider on the horse. Realize there is a rider. I'm not just the horse. Like that girl, she realized, oh, there's something inside my head which is thinking, which is not just what I'm used to, like just the normal subconscious way that most people live their life. And that's the idea of Eikev Tishmun. If you're careful about the things which people naturally will step on, that means what you're doing is you're taking those commandments, which their natural way of doing them is by doing them by rote, without thinking, and you put thought into them. Right? That means you're not letting your habits pull you along, even though they're good habits. Doing the commandments is very good. But you're not letting even the commandments pull you along. And even when it comes to the commandments, you're thinking and you're using your free will and your consciousness and your awareness to choose to do the right thing. Then God will then God will give to you the promise and the kindness. And then the following verses all speak about rewards in this world, not the world to come. That's a given, right? But God will even reward you in this world. Why? Because you have brought God by you using your mind, and your mind, the holy part of you, is now in control and penetrates and influences and so it invades and permeates your subconscious. So therefore, what does that mean? That's what it is on the psychological, internal human mind level. What does that mean on the physical level? It means the soul is imbuing its light into the body being imbued by the holiness of the soul, which ultimately comes from the holiness of God. So you're imbuing the body and the world with God's presence. And what does God want to do? Kindness. So therefore, by you using your consciousness to do the commandments which are habitual, you're essentially bringing God into the world of habitualness, the world of nature where things go by rote and go by rules and by laws of nature, by themselves. You're revealing that God is in there. All these ideas about miracles and nature, all connected ideas. So therefore, God expresses himself in the physical world. Beautiful. Because you do the commandments which people trample on. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's beautiful how all these ideas always come together. See the parallels all over the place. Yeah, so that's the message for today. Focus on thinking and being aware of what you're doing, right? Especially when it comes to the mitzvahs, as we saw later on in chapter 10, verse 12. One of the things God asks from us is to serve him with all our heart and all our soul, right? And we said there, it's not just the heart. That means not just the emotions, the awareness, but even the soul, which is lower down, which is the physical side of us, right? We want the horse not just to be an interference with the rider, right? It's bad enough when the horse is doing its own thing, but let's say you calm the horse down, but he's not listening to you, yeah? But okay, the rider gets off the horse and just walks. God doesn't want that either. God wants us to control the horse and make the horse great, yeah? The Grand National winner, right? Can only do that if the jockey tames the horse first and then controls it and brings out the power and the greatness of the horse, because now the two are working together. Same thing with us. God creates us with certain techunas hanefesh, with certain habits, certain tendencies. Some people are more energetic, some people are more thoughtful, some people are more angry or quick to anger, some people are more interested in pleasures, right? So these things can drag a person in the wrong direction. But when we control them, then we use those very same powers of the horse to serve God, because our consciousness is on top of them. And that's why we're called Bnei Yaakov, the children of Jacob, because we put the Yud, that means the mind, on top of the Eikev, on top of the heel. Things look like heels, things look like they're physical, attached to the ground. We put mind into that, and we subjugate our habits to our mind. And by doing that, we become similar to God himself. By God's, like the fourth of the fundamentals, where God chooses to create the world. He chooses to do good to us without any influence from something else. So therefore, when we choose to do the good thing, it should be not because that's our habit to do the right thing. We're choosing every single time to make an active, proactive, conscious decision to do the right thing as much as we can. And the more you train yourself to do that, the more you're going to feel alive the whole day. Okay. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. Please leave a comment. It means a lot. Like and subscription, but whatever. I love to see the comments and have discussions, taking the ideas further. Maybe I show you an extra angles on it, which I haven't expressed in the lecture here. All right. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.